Before we start today's video, I just wanted to say thank you guys so much for 300 subs. I think it's actually kind of crazy that we've made it this far already. It's just kind of insane to think about how far this channel has come from when I first made it to now. So yeah, thank you guys so much for the big 300. Let's aim for 500. Oh yeah, and something special will be coming for you guys in the near future. So look out for that. A few weeks ago, I got a request on one of my videos to make a building guide on how to build with warped and crimson wood. Now, if you've been living under a rock for the past little while, then these are the two new types of wood added in the most recent Nether update for Minecraft, version 1.16. Crimson wood is very aptly named, as you can see. It's a very deep purple pink looking color. And then warped wood is a kind of bluish teal. So two very interesting types of wood that are going to be a bit of a challenge to build with. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over each of these blocks shown here in detail. Then we're going to go over a few blocks that I recommend that you build these with, a few colors that I recommend building with. Then we're going to go over some block palettes and finally some building examples. Get it? Got it? Good. Also, new skin. How do you like? All right, so starting things off right here, we have the crimson wood, and like I said, this is very deep, pinkish purple block, and it's not really a color that we have a whole lot of in Minecraft. So down here we've got the unstripped stem, the hyphae. Or hyphae, or however it's pronounced. And as you can see, this is a really cool, very detailed block. A lot of deep purples in here. We've got this kind of red, vine or whatever creeping up along the side that kind of glows. It's got this glowing animation going across it, which is really cool. Very detailed block. The only issue with that is that because it is so detailed, it's going to be hard to build with on a large scale. It's going to be much better for smaller projects like detailing a room or something like that. So we'll touch up on these blocks a little later. For now, we're just going to focus on the planks and the stripped stems, which is probably what you're going to be building with a majority of the time when building with these two blocks. So with the planks, as you can see, we've got a wide mix of colors in here. We go from the same deep purple kind of that the unstripped stem has to a much lighter purple here, in the planks. A lot of color variation, very dark and grungy. And I kind of like that. Here in the stem, not quite as much color variation. It's not quite as dark as the colors in here, but it is still quite dark. So if you're going to build, try and color match blocks with these, I would definitely recommend try going for terracotta instead of concrete. Concrete blocks are very bright and colorful. They're very flat tone, whereas the terracotta blocks are a little dirtier, a little darker. Um, you know, not quite as bright and colorful as the concrete blocks. So if you're going to color match, go with those. Right down here, I've got a chest, and in this chest, we've got a few, blocks and colors that I recommend that you build with. When you're going to build with crimson wood. So up here we've got the terracotta, like I mentioned, we've got brown, yellow, magenta, purple, pink, blue. These three, the magenta, purple, and pink, those are mostly for color matching with the crimson wood, especially the purple and the pink. Those look most similar, in my opinion, to the crimson wood blocks. Uh, Blue, yellow, and brown just look good, color palette wise. Uh, Also, in terms of colors, we've got white concrete, red concrete, yellow concrete, gray concrete. These all look fine with the crimson wood as well. The rest of these are just blocks that I would highly recommend that you consider using. For woods, we've got birch and dark oak. Very dark, very light, big contrast in color to the crimson wood. They complement it pretty well, in my opinion. Over here, we've got the four major types of overworld stone blocks. You got cobblestone, stone bricks, and andesite. These guys all look pretty good with just about anything. So. Mixing and matching these for a color palette plus the magenta color palette of the crimson wood is going to look pretty good as well. I've also got blackstone, which looks really nice with the crimson wood in my opinion. Uh, Up here, we've also got the nether bricks, red nether bricks, and regular nether bricks. Both of these look pretty good with the crimson wood as well. Personally, I recommend just the regular nether bricks because it's a bit more of a color contrast as opposed to the red nether bricks, but both work pretty well. In case you couldn't tell, I did have to stretch a little bit when determining what blocks you can use to build with the Crimson Wood. It is a pretty new and unique color to the game. There isn't really anything quite like it, in my opinion. So, we have to, experiment a little bit, see what works. But these are all things that I think will work pretty well with Crimson Wood. Moving on to the warped wood. For the stems right here, I think it's going to be more or less the same story as the crimson stem right there. A lot of detail. The animation is really cool, but because of that, it's still, kind of hard to build with on a large scale. So we're just going to focus on smaller details for that, and we'll talk a little bit more about that later. For now, we're just going to talk about the planks and the stripped stems. And these are going to be a little easier to build with, I think, than the crimson wood. Mostly because these blocks do match other colors that are already in the game right now. Uh, Again, the planks are a bit darker and have a little more color variation than the strip stem, but they're both very similar in color to other blocks in the game. For example, the strip stems are, I believe, very similar in color to the prismarine, if I'm not mistaken, and the planks are pretty similar in color to the dark prismarine. Plus, they're both pretty similar in color to, I believe, cyan terracotta, or not terracotta, cyan concrete. I believe is pretty similar color to this. So yeah, I think these are going to be a bit easier to build with, especially in the overworld. I think they're going to fit in pretty nicely with what's already in the game. Then down here, we have our blocks and colors that I recommend using. Right here, we have the purple, light gray, yellow, and magenta terracotta. Magenta and purple, nice color contrasts. Light gray isn't terrible either, and neither is yellow. Uh, Other good colors, cyan is a very close color match. The cyan concrete is. White, purple, light gray, and gray are all decent color contrasts as well. So these will all work pretty well, I think, with a kind of a cyan palette uh, that we're going to have with the strip stems and the planks. We've also got various other blocks, as you can see, dark oak, birch, and spruce planks. The dark oak and birch are similar in color contrast as before. I've added spruce because I think the kind of a slightly lighter brown than the dark oak and the kind of bright blue. I think that works really well personally. You can sort of see it right there. Then for stones, we've also got, the classic four blocks. I've also added smooth sandstone. It's sort of similar in color to birchwood, a little lighter, but it also offers a really nice color contrast. Then for some of the more unusual blocks, basalt looks pretty solid. Endstone is, I think, another very unusual, but also potentially very cool block to use. It's kind of a bright yellowish color, kind of a moon yellow or something like that. Uh, and I think this could look really cool with the cyan as well. We've also got Blackstone, with the new Nether update, looks pretty nice, and also quartz, naturally because bright white blocks with the bright cyan, I think it's going to look pretty nice. All right, so we've made a couple different block palettes here. I'm going to go ahead and start with the crimson palette. So starting off with the planks, we've got your crimson planks, and for our color match, we've gone with the purple terracotta right here. It's not directly matching in terms of color, but it does look pretty good. The purple terracotta is kind of that gray or grayish purple, kind of a darkened color, dulled color a little bit, and I think it looks pretty cool. This is a definitely a pretty solid color match. For our stripped stems, we've gone with the magenta terracotta in terms of a color match, and I don't think this is necessarily well, it's not great, it's not perfect as you can see, but it still looks pretty solid. This is a pretty decent looking match color matchup, so I like this a lot. And then we've got our various other blocks that I recommended using. So starting off with our stone blocks, right here we've got the classic stone brick, cobblestone, stone, and andesite that we mentioned earlier. Then we've also got this yellow concrete and terracotta mixed together, which looks pretty cool. I think I would lean a little more heavily to the terracotta, but it still looks pretty cool with the deep purple that is these blocks. Then we've also got the blackstone right here, mostly just blackstone with a few polished blackstone here and there. Looks pretty solid. Nether brick, like I said, looks pretty solid with the purplish colors of the crimson terra or crimson planks and the crimson stems. We've also got dark oak as a nice bright color contrast and a birch wood, which also looks pretty nice. The light yellow also pairs very well with the very deep purple of the crimson planks. So yeah, we got a fair few blocks that this will look pretty solid with. Some probably a little more than others, but uh, still sets us up pretty well for some cool building ideas. Moving on to the warped wood, over here we've got the planks, and I've got that matched up with the dark prismarine. The prismarine isn't a perfect match. It's a little more green to the warped planks blue, but it does match up pretty closely. I also like how the structures kind of line up right here. The four different tiles on the dark prismarine line up with the four different planks on the warped planks. That's the word. I think it lines up pretty well. That's a little bit aesthetically pleasing in my opinion. Over here to the stripped stem, we've got that matched up with the cyan concrete and also a bit of cyan wool just to kind of help blend out the light of the stem with the dark of the concrete. They're lighter to darker versions of the same color, and this helps kind of mix the two in. Really solid palette in my opinion. I think this is the best one of the four palettes that I've shown. I think that stem or the not the stem, the plank one over there is my second favorite. But I like this a lot, especially for like a roof. I think this will look really cool. Very cool palette right here. Then surrounding it, we've got a few more of the different block palettes. Starting right here, we've got the classic stone palette that I had before, where it starts very structured at the bottom and kind of works its way up to the much lighter andesite at the top. This is looking very good for walls, and this would be maybe for, like I said, a roof on your house. Up here, we've also got the Basalt, which is a much darker gray. One of the brand new blocks that they've added. Pretty cool nonetheless, although I don't think it's going to look perfect with these blocks. I think it'll still be manageable. We've also got the Basalt right here. The regular Basalt mixed in with the polished Basalt. Looks really nice. Smooth sandstone over here, and I've also mixed in some regular sand over here because it adds a nice little bit of texture variation and it's still pretty close in color. Um, then for our woods right here, we've gone with birch once again, and instead of dark oak, which I did include in the recommended blocks box, instead I've got spruce right here because this matches really well with dark prismarine, and I think it could match pretty decently with either of these palettes right here. So yeah, overall, we've got some pretty solid looking palettes right here. And I think this is going to leave us a lot of room to build with, a lot of opportunities to build with. Speaking of which, let's go ahead and get into some builds. And a three, two, one, boom. Here we go. We've got, as you can see, quite a few examples, which it actually took me a couple days to come up with the ideas and then actually build all of these. But we're just going to go over them one by one, show you off what I've come up with for what you could actually build with these blocks. And the first of these ideas, and the big one in my opinion, this is the first thing that came to mind, is roofs. These make some really, really killer roofs. I've found that the best way I think that you can incorporate like a bright or unusual color into your build uh, is through the roof. And so here we've got on this side we've got a big tower with the crimson wood, and then kind of like just a general purpose roof over here for your castle. And the same thing over here with the warped wood. And as you can see which palettes we used, that one and that one. Uh, That's the ones we use for this build. We've also outlined it in dark oak wood. We've added, little details in dark oak wood, and the main wall is just built in, the stone palette that we covered, where it starts structured in dark at the bottom and fades to the andesite, much lighter at the top. Very basic build palette, but I think it looks really solid. I especially love the warped wood for this build. Crimson wood looks pretty solid too. I tried to build with blackstone originally and just didn't quite work. Didn't quite work out, so I just decided to keep it with the andesite and the stone palette, as well as the dark oak. I think of the woods that I discussed right here, the dark oak is definitely the better of the two that goes with the crimson wood. So you're going to see quite a bit of that. Speaking of which, over here we've got our second roof designs. These are just to show that you can put these on a smaller house, and so we've gone for a sort of Tudor style house facade, where you start with a stone palette at the bottom, and we've got this white palette at the top, made of white concrete, white wool, and white concrete powder. And then once again, we've outlined it in dark oak. You could also use spruce because I think of the woods used for Tudor houses, I think spruce and dark oak are definitely the most appropriate. So we've got the other palettes right here that you could use for the build. So we've got crimson wood right here and the warped wood right here, the warped planks and the prismarine or a dark prismarine, yeah, on this roof make for a very nice color combination. I think nice little bit of variance, and I think that looks really nice. Same thing with the crimson wood over here. Personally, I think I prefer the other palette just a little bit more, but you could definitely work some details, work some magic with this crimson wood, and overall, I think these both look really good as roof palettes as well. So yeah, definitely, I think by far the best use for these blocks is probably going to be through the roofs on your build. However, that is not the only use for these blocks. I figured if we could put these pallets on the roof, then why can't we just put them on the floor as well? So that's exactly what I've done. Here we've got our warped wood pallets are right here. We've got the darker of the two wood pallets with the planks and the prismarine up on the roof. And then down here we've got the stripped stems, and we've got our cyan wool and the cyan concrete, and this just looks really cool in this build. I've got this sort of garden storage room looking place right here. So we've got all sorts of chests and barrels lined up on the walls. We've got, bushes and little plants and stuff hanging up all around. We got some vines even growing down. This one, the vines might not be the most practical idea. They definitely need to be kept in check. But this thing, I think this looks pretty cool. We've also got, the oak wood. We've got the jungle wood detailing, and all of this I think looks really solid. Uh, I obviously we've got the smooth sandstone palette. As I mentioned, it looks really solid with the warped wood, and I thought jungle wood and oak wood would make a pretty solid looking chest slash garden room. As you can see, we've also got the dyed glass panes here around on the ceiling. It looks really cool. I had to go a little ham with the detailing just because that keeps my motivation up, and also we got to have something for uh, something for the title cards. So you know, uh, yeah, it looks pretty solid, I think. And then we've also done the same thing in here with the crimson wood and also dark oak. Didn't detail it, didn't completely fill it in, but I think this looks really good as well. And you could do something similar in here with a chest slash garden room or something like that. It doesn't have to be a garden room; it can just be a general purpose, I don't know, hallway or something. But this is just to show you that the floors, these blocks would be really good for flooring as well. So, in a sort of homage to how I used to do these videos, I did finish off these examples for the Warped and Crimson Wood with a house, because I used to show you how you can actually make houses out of these blocks that I'm showing you in the videos instead of just, general purpose building stuff. And so, we've got this house made out of the crimson and what is this? The purple terracotta. Okay, we got this house out of the crimson and the purple terracotta. We've got it detailed in the dark oak and We got the roof made out of the stone brick and cobblestone, as you can see, and I think this looks pretty decent. I don't think it's the best looking house out there, uh, and it's probably not the best use for the crimson or the warped wood. Uh, but I think this looks pretty decent as long as you break it up a little bit with the dark oak detailing. Then yeah, this can definitely look like a pretty solid house. Yeah, this doesn't look terrible. So if you wanted to build a house out of these blocks, you can absolutely go for it. I wouldn't recommend it. It's not my top preference, not my top use for these blocks. I definitely prefer the roofs or the ceilings or the flooring, especially the roof. I think I've mentioned that several times. The roof is probably the best option. But I think this looks pretty solid too. As long as you break it up, like I said, then you got a pretty solid looking house. Now comes the slight issue of dealing with the warped and the crimson hyphae or stems or whatever you want to call it. I sort of mentioned earlier how they're very, incredibly detailed, and because of that, they can be a bit hard to work with. But I've come up with a few ideas, a few practical uses for them. And just in general, I think you want to kind of limit your use of these. You kind of want to use them as like trim pieces or to break up other surfaces or stuff like that. And so you can sort of see that here. So this is a nether portal room, not unlike one that I showed off in my previous video. If you want to check that out, you can go ahead, feel free to do that. But in that video, I made a nether portal room featuring crimson hyphae on the floor. Instead, I've gone with the warped hyphae on the ceiling in this time, and the warped nylium, which is a new block also added in Minecraft for the recent update. I've added that on the floor. And so I kind of like how the room kind of fades from like brighter on the floor to sort of darker higher up. I think that looks really cool. As you can see, the warped hyphae. I'm still having trouble remembering these names. The warped hyphae kind of breaks up the ceiling, and it adds a nice little bit of detail. Like even this, I think might be almost too much of the hyphae at once, just because it's so detailed. It's kind of like the what is it? The glazed terracotta. That's what it's called. It's sort of like the glazed terracotta, where it's like you don't want a whole lot of it because a lot of the glazed terracotta blocks are super heavily detailed. Um, so I think you kind of want to use it in a similar way that you would uh, use those blocks in game. So yeah, we've got it kind of breaking up the ceiling, and overall it complements the room very well. We've used similar colors to the teals and blues and stuff in the hyphae. Overall in the room, and I think it looks really solid like this. Now, this next one I don't think is as important to mention as the other two, but I figured I mentioned it anyways because it sort of segues into the next one pretty well. So I was thinking, you could have like redstone contraptions or something like that for the warped and the crimson hyphae and stems, just because of you can see the sort of glowing pattern. I thought it sort of looked like energy or some power source or something flowing through. So I've sort of gone with that over here. We've got, this power source going through the floor and up to the ceiling, and, power sources going along the wall, stuff like that. You could sort of use these for fake redstone contraptions, science lab-ish, I don't know, something or other. But I was looking at these pillars or towers that I had made, and I thought this looked like really cool for some reason. And it's so cool that I decided to make an entirely third room over here. So this is the third idea I've come up with. And so as you can see, we've got the same pillars that we did before, towering up from the bottom to the top. And we've got the same glass panes. And overall, I think this looks really, really cool. This is just a really cool little garden room. We've got this sort of nether garden, as you can see, using pretty much all new blocks, except for the panes. Uh, and I guess, well, no, lanterns are still pretty new. So, yeah, no, panes and lanterns are really the only exceptions here. Oh, and netherrack. But other than that, all new blocks. We got the blackstone, we got the basalt on the floor. As you can see, I've laid it sideways. for most of the floor, and then straight up to make it look kind of trodden, like a path over here, leading to our lone tree over here, our lone crimson mushroom tree or something. We've got the crimson wood fences lining the floor, or lining the walls with the lanterns on them. And then the hyphae kind of breaks up the rest of the wall, that and the glass. Basically, you want to use for these the very detailed hyphae blocks, hyphae and stems. You want to kind of use these sparingly. So basically, to break up other patterns, other massive walls. So I've kind of used these as pillars to break up the black stone wall behind them. And the other build, I used it as a ceiling to break up the black stone ceiling, or to break up the floor or something like that. Basically, you want to use these, like I said, as trim pieces. You want to use these kind of sparingly. I don't want to make a massive wall out of them or a massive house out of them. I just don't think that would look good. But as a small, like, detailing blocks, stuff like this, I think these are gonna fit in really, really well, and they're gonna look really cool in just about any Nether build that you have. Uh, just my opinion. I think these are gonna look really, really cool. So yeah, that's just, the few ideas that I figured for the hyphae and the stem blocks. So yeah, those are my various building ideas, things that you can build with these blocks. Hopefully you found my suggestions helpful for things you could build, and also the palettes you can make, and just overall my coverage of the blocks in general. Hopefully you all found that helpful and somewhat interesting. If you did, don't forget to leave a like. Comment down below if you have any other video suggestions. I don't think I've mentioned this, but this video was a suggestion by a viewer, and I was more than happy to do it. I thought this was a fantastic suggestion, and I'm very glad they brought it up. So yeah, if you guys want to see a video from my channel, feel free to go ahead and comment down below. Also, I don't do this enough, but I got to plug my Twitter. So you guys got to follow me on there for stream notifications, for random fun facts and tweets and stuff like that. I do post there almost every day. So yeah, go ahead and do that. And once again, thank you guys so much for 300 subs. It really does mean a lot. It's kind of crazy how far this channel's come. I know it's still kind of small, but it really does mean a lot to me. So thank you guys so much for doing that. So yeah, that's about all I have to say. And thank you guys again so much for watching, and I will see you sometime soon. Goodbye.